With rapid urbanization across Nigeria, governments are trying to put measures in place to ensure improved sanitation, increased public health outcomes for her citizens, and of course, improved environmental sustainability. Well, our guest, Mark Ademi Adebayo, is joining us via Zoom to discuss latest developments in urban wash reform in Nigeria. Mr. Adedayo is an urban water, sanitation, and hygiene specialist. Good morning, Mr. Mark Ademi. Can you hear us?
Kindly unmute your mic, please.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me now?
Yes, beautiful. We can hear you.
Loud and clear. All right, Mr. Ademi, thank you for joining us. We would actually like to know, because our guests, you've been introduced as a wash specialist, and we are curious to know what exactly is wash and why is it important in Nigeria at this time?
Thank you so much. WASH is basically water, sanitation, and hygiene. And it's talking about water resource, water supply, water use, sanitation, and then, of course, hygiene. And it's calibrated in Nigeria for urban, small town, and rural water supply. Of course, there's this popular saying that water is life. So we know that you can do without so many things, but you can't do without water. And so it has to come in the right quality because you have to drink it. And if you drink water without quality, then you are risking waterborne diseases that can also kill so fast. Recently, I was watching your newspaper review, I think about 2 or 3 days ago, and you're talking about cholera in some states, some that has massive population, and we are recording deaths already. Most of those diseases are waterborne diseases. So, and when you talk about sanitation too, you're talking about dealing with your feces, issues of personal hygiene too, and which has direct impact on the health of citizens. And it is a major development index. SDG Goal 6 addresses the issue of water, access to water, sanitation, and hygiene. So if you want to live quality life, then you need to pay attention to the quality and the quantity of water available to you to drink, for cooking, for home chores, and for the environment. And it has to be sustainable over your lifetime, as long as there's mankind, and then there must be water, and there must be sufficient quantities. And when you cross to resources, you're also talking about water for other uses. But basically, we are probably interested in having water to drink and to take care of the home front.
All right, Mark. Thank you. But I'd like to ask, what are the what are the major challenges that WASH has been facing over the years, and what are the how can I put it now? What are the possible things that the government has done to help curb these things, or even the people, the populations, the human beings who stay around the environment? How have they helped? What are your major challenges? Has the government been of help, and has the people been of help as well?
Of course, you can't separate the situation in the wash sector from the situation in the country. There's this saying that water everywhere, and then none to drink. Over the years, the government has tried as much as possible to put in place infrastructure. And then you have about 37 water utilities in Nigeria. That's plus Abuja. You have rural water agencies. Some places you have small water agencies with staff that draw salary from government with the mandate of providing water to the people on the government side. But then when you get to most of those institutions, you find out that they are not functioning, even though they draw salaries on a daily basis. And when you talk to them, they complain about lack of funds to put the infrastructure in place. But of course, it goes beyond that, even in places where development partners have intervened, and they've been intervening over the years, the USAID, the World Bank, the European Union, JICA, that's Japanese, Water Aid, they've been there bringing billions of dollars into the sector. And at the end of the day, even when there is infrastructure, they still find it difficult to sustain the operations of those infrastructures. So when you go all over the country, you see moribund water treatment plants of massive capacity, and you see thousands of kilometers of pipe network, ductile iron, UPVC, HDP, and all of them have not carried water for up to between 5 and 15 years. And some of them have been destroyed by road construction. So those are real big challenges that has affected public water supply. But when you look at the development over time, people must always look for water. You say water will always find its cause, but people will always find their source. So even when the government is not forthcoming, the people have gone into digging boreholes, which is also a dangerous trend, but then people must just drink water, whatever it takes. So people are punching holes, upon the earth crust in Nigeria. And that does not happen in that level anywhere in the world except Nigeria, where almost everybody is punching holes and getting water from their boreholes. And then, of course, you have this sachet water all over the place. Yes, that has rescued Nigeria. There was a year I called sachet water, which we popularly call pure water, as the Nigerian man of the year. Because if not for sachet water, people would have drinking water. So everywhere, nook and cranny villages, you find sachet water. But then there are quality issues. So because of the breakdown in public water supply, the individual has taken up the gauntlet. And then so you find those sources from individual efforts, private efforts, just to make sure that we continue to have water to drink.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Adedayo, I beg your pardon. So I wanted to ask you this very direct question. What is WASH's framework in ensuring that every household in Nigeria gets safe drinking water? And it's very interesting you mentioned moribund water agencies. Now, does WASH have an oversight function over those infrastructure or probably agencies, water agencies? What exactly is WASH doing to ensure that there is safe drinking water in every home in Nigeria? Because, of course, W in your acronym stands for water. When you talk about sanitation and hygiene, you can't do those without water. So what is the framework to ensuring that Nigerians across board get, clean, safe water?
Okay, thank you. If you're talking about WASH, it's like an acronym for that particular undertaking. But then if you're talking about framework, you talk about policies, you talk about laws, and you talk about the governance structure, you talk about institutions. At the federal level, you have the Federal Ministry of Water Resources, that is the overall coordinating ministry, in the country. But then the major responsibility for water supply and sanitation is vested in the states, even though the federal government provides support, provides investment, puts investment in river basins, and sometimes also come for direct intervention. So you have a federal government, Federal Ministry of Water Resources, you have a state Ministry of Water Resources or Ministry of Environment, as the case may be. And then, of course, you have water utilities. The water utilities, which people sometimes we call them water corporation, are supposed to provide service for the urban population, and then at times small town. but there are some states that have created small town agencies to take care of small town, which is population between 5,000 and 20,000 persons. And then you have the rural water agency that deals with provision of water at the rural water level. In terms of engagement, I need to be different. In the urban area, you expect the utilities to operate, under cost recovery principles, so that they can charge tariff and get money to run their systems, especially the operating expenses. So, and when you look at Nigeria, these institutions are there. Most of the states have their laws, have their policies, and then, of course, some 3-4 states also have regulatory authorities, which is also important in the mix. So when you look at this, that's exactly the institutional framework that supports this process. And then you now have partners like development partners, where a chunk of fund has come from, and they've intervened at different levels, intervene at governance level, intervene at financing level, intervene at organizational structure level, which has been going on for many years under different reform programs and packages. So these efforts, these institutions are there with their mandates. But are we getting the desired result? No, I don't think so.
All right, thank you. But very quickly, Mr. Adedayo, I would actually want to know, because you are a WASH specialist, you probably belong to an association of some sort, or a group or an agency of some sort. So do you provide any form of recommendation to the government? Because in your earlier submission, you mentioned that our water agencies, most of them are moribund and they're comatose. So do you in any form, shape at all, provide recommendations to the government to ensure that something is done about, our water systems and supply?
Yes, definitely. I'm a member of the Water Supply Association of Nigeria, and there are other associations, even the Water Engineers Association, and of course we also have Nigeria Professional Forum, where top professionals come together to discuss the issue of water supply and sanitation and hygiene. But more importantly, between me and a lot of my colleagues, we've been part of this process for quite some time. Some of those interventions, we've taken leadership roles at different points and at time. And maybe you just permit me to tell stories, because when you're over 25 years in a sector, you probably want to just tell stories, because there's so much that has happened in the system. So strategic advice, yes. Technical support, yes. Contribution to the policies, to the laws, yes. Contribution to standard operating procedures, manuals, yes. Embeddedness in the system, working with them on a daily basis just to turn things around, yes. Working with government, talking to the people at the highest level of government, absolutely, yes. I remember a state, I won't mention the name, there was an incoming governor, and I was about to exit the state from a project, a USAID project. So I sought a meeting with the governor, and I gave him a blueprint on how to run the system. We had some arguments, and I told him, this is the way to go, but Mr. Governor, I'm leaving your state. And after some time, the guy just went the other direction, dissolved the water corporation, scattered the whole place. And he did fantastically. It was fantastic in some area, other aspects. But I heard he said that if it is only on water that I failed, that's okay. At least I passed in other areas. So it's not as if they are bereft of templates, of roadmaps. Some of these roadmaps, we work it together. I was a member of a national action plan for revitalization of water. It was a federal government and state government supported by World Bank. We brought all the states together, their commissioners, and we had retreats. And we had this 5-6 point agenda that this is the way to go to rescue the water sector. And everybody agreed. We had our MOUs and all that, and everybody said we're going back to our state, declare the state of emergency, and begin to pay more attention, increase investment by 300%. If you can bring private sector, and all that. Look at your policy and your laws. Bring in monitoring and evaluation framework. Let's make sure that we're progressing and all that. And everybody signed to it. Commissioners were there, GMs were there, were represented. And then we launched the plan at Aso Rock. And all the government representatives said we're going back to our state to push this. After that, so many things have happened. There have been some intervention funds from World Bank, from USAID, from other development partners, and then the state governments have the intervention in those state governments. But are we really getting traction that we should get as a sector expert? I don't think so. Yes, I know the stage is set in some places, but we also want to make sure that this time around we get it right. The pace is slow. Some are not even responding at all, So much is on ground for people to run with. But then implementation, sustaining the system, that's been challenges.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Adedayo. But before we let you go, I have this very important question to ask you, because during this conversation with you, we have actually beamed our spotlight on the government policies and things like that. But I want us to focus on the people, on the populace. And I want you to speak to open defecation. I want you to speak to sanitation and hygiene. What are the responsibilities of the people in ensuring a very high standard, of sewage management, hygiene, and sanitation?
Yeah. The time when you see practices, you are also appalled. You go to some neighborhood, people defecate beside where they prepare their food. I think it's a big problem, and probably it's a function of education. It's a function of exposure, and also, of course, it's also a function of breakdown of the entire system. Where are clean public toilets? Where is compliance? Where is water to keep toilets clean? I usually say no toilet is probably safer than dirty toilets. So, but even in the center of it is the fact that the people too are comfortable, living such life. So education-wise, and a mass of our population are on the street. So you can't also separate it from the economic situation of the country, where you have a mass of people on the street, a mass of people living in shanties, a mass of people just coming into a city and then finding a place under the bridge in so many places. Where will they defecate? So these are all the things that now transcend beyond the wash sector in itself. Because you're looking at a park or a marketplace that has about 100,000 people milling around that place, almost 24/7. And then they have just about 8 or 9 toilet units. How will they cope? So compounding the problem is the lack of public water supply, compounding the problem of lack of clean toilets in public facilities and all that, But then even our living style, even the situation of the country, the economic situation, and then the level of education and exposure of our people,
Thank you
So
very
for
much.
me, I think we need to address it from that behavioral angle.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mark Adeyemi Adedayo. We wish we had more time, we would have discussed this, but of course we'll be getting back to you to give us more insights and more discussions on this topic. Thank you very much for your input.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. We'll be going to something else. Of course, New Day is always packed full of interviews, of enlightening